Hello. How are you? I want to learn about the euro. Oh, look at that. The Secrets of the Euro by Half Asleep Chris. Go check out his channel, link down below. I want to watch this video. I want to react to it, kind of compare just my thoughts on the euro as from an American point of view. You know what it is. All right, let's go.
Prior to 2002, most European countries had their own independent currencies. France had the French franc.
It is crazy what a big change that was, you know. And over here in America, at least as like a 10-year-old, I didn't even realize this was happening.
Italy had the Italian lira, and Finland had the Finnish marker, to name just a few. It made trade and travel a lot more complicated, as you needed to change your money for each different
Lira, isn't that the name of like that Facebook cryptocurrency they tried to make?
country, often incurring exchange rates, commissions, and fees.
Yeah, this would be a disaster. This would be like if all the different states in America had different currencies.
What's more, there was often vast disparity between the values of each currency. Whilst the Italian lira banknote stretched all the way up to 500,000, the highest denomination French franc was only 500. So if you were visiting one from the other, it would be very difficult to gauge how much you were actually spending. In practice, it was a nightmare. The case for a shared common currency was therefore an obvious one, and it was an idea that had been talked about and was being worked towards for decades, without getting...
That's cool. That's really cool. And that's relatively recently. I mean, 20 years ago now.
Into the precise history, the euro as we know it was first introduced for non-cash transactions.
I also love how your bills get bigger. Well, do I love it? That's interesting. It would be good if you were blind or in the dark. And it would be nice just for like searching through your wallet, you could quickly see which ones. And they're different colors. Ours aren't even different colors. I'm just thinking, I mean, it would be a little bit strange that they don't fit your wallet perfectly. But as long as the biggest one fits, then I think it's a good idea.
Actions on New Year's Day 1999, and then the first banknotes and coins on New Year's Day 2002. The only countries that did not adopt the currency were Denmark and the United Kingdom, although there are several other EU countries who don't yet meet the economic criteria, but will make the change once they do.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that. That's a lot of countries. So they still all have their own currency?
And since those first banknotes were launched in 2002, they've just finished releasing a new and updated series, which this video is going to take a look at.
Oh, cool. Let me see what year this came out. So 3 years.
Now, I'm not going to get...
Because I'm thinking about Queen Elizabeth dying. So they're coming out with new bills, huh?
into any of the pros and cons of the currency, or any of the economic arguments or considerations. Instead, I'm going to approach the euro purely as a banknote collector, as someone who likes shiny and colourful objects with a cool story, not as a critic of the currency itself. If you enjoy this video, please consider subscribing. Now normally I'd go through and talk about each banknote individually, but with the euro it makes much more sense to talk about them collectively.
They're very pretty.
These new notes are known as the Europa series, and
It's interesting how, I mean, I guess he'll talk about it, but it's interesting how there's different piece of architecture on each
they
bill.
are very much a series, with each denomination just a slight variant on the overall design. Like the previous series, the notes have retained their size, colour, and the theme of European architecture. The front of each denomination displays a window or doorway to represent openness and cooperation, whilst the reverse depicts a bridge, symbolising communication. The €5 sees a classical architecture style, the 10
Very symbolic.
Romanesque, the 20 Gothic, the 50 Renaissance, the 100 Baroque, and the 200 a 19th century iron and glass theme. The old 500 note had the theme of modern...
You have a 500 note? I know he said that earlier, but I didn't process in my brain. That's insane. It would suck to lose that, huh?
20th century architecture, although has been discontinued and is slowly being removed from circulation. Importantly though, none of the specific doorways,
How many of you guys have spent a $500 note?
windows or bridges shown are real. They're fictional designs, intended to represent each of the original members but without unfairly representing one more than the other.
Oh.
Also like the previous
That's weird.
series, The reverse of each note features a map of Europe, although this time including Malta and Cyprus, who have both since joined the Eurozone, as well as a tiny section right in the bottom left to show the Canary Islands and some of France's territories. But that's about it for the similarities.
I don't even know what the Canary Islands are.
So what exactly has changed?
Just being honest.
Well, the denomination in the bottom left has been replaced by one in green colour changing ink, making it difficult to replicate. And on the 100 and 200 notes, it even contains tiny euro symbols. There's also a larger holographic strip on the right, this time containing an image of Europa, a figure from Greek mythology after whom the
This would be an absolute biatch to forge this, huh?
continent was named. Europa can also be seen in the watermark of each note, alongside the denomination and piece of architecture, although admittedly it does kind of resemble a kid's drawing. In terms of other security features, both series are fairly similar. Obviously they all featured the Orion constellation, a group of 5 circles or donuts which can be detected by printers and computer software in order to prevent photocopying.
Okay.
This feature was included on banknotes in secret for many years,
Oh, wow, that's cool.
until a member of the public first detected it on a 10 euro note, hence the name and the fact that it sort of
That's pretty cool. Some dude out there figured out that there's a secret constellation on the bill. That is cool, but even if you know it's there, it's still... I mean, you can always hack the printer. Like, if you have a strong enough counterfeiter, like a really smart 007 counterfeiter supervillain, he could hack the printer now that he knows that's what it's looking for, right? Like Photoshop or the printer.
doesn't really resemble Orion. Under UV light, certain elements of the notes glow to indicate their authenticity, including the stars in the flag and the stars around the architecture, as well as certain sections of the reverse. Tiny glowing flecks are also visible, something they purposely add into the paper, again to show their authenticity. But the new notes have added another really cool security feature in the form of these short diagonal lines on the edges of each note. If you fold the notes round to form a circle, they perfectly line up, indicating that the note is likely genuine, as counterfeiters can have difficulty being so precise with their printing.
That is so strange. Okay. What a strange way to test if the note is real. They line up. I wouldn't trust that. Because I think if a counterfeiter is good enough to make this look real, he'll probably get the lines lined up. I mean, I know from printing stuff, like I've had graphic design jobs and you have to put bleed around the document because the printers are a little bit off, but I still feel like that's interesting.
And these notes have introduced some microprint.
It's just there's so many other ways to tell if it's real or fake. That would be a strange one to do.
Too, seen in the stars in the middle of the note. If you look extremely closely, you'll see the word euro repeating in
That's a high quality print.
3 different alphabets. Again, something that counterfeiters cannot achieve with inexpensive printers. And what is probably my favourite hidden feature? Each note is secretly a flag of Europe in disguise.
Really?
How cool is that? However, having
That's what those stars were in the UV light?
said all that, you'd be right to accuse these notes of being boring. They're deliberately plain and devoid of any personality. Europe is an exceptionally diverse continent, with the finest architecture on the planet.
I mean, I think they're... Maybe it's just because I'm bored of the American bills, because I see them all the time, but I think these are pretty.
And yet they've opted for fictional designs. But I do
Yeah, I think that's strange.
understand it. These banknotes are used by an ever-increasing number
Right,
of
it
countries,
does make
and they can't be
sense.
seen to favour certain ones. And where the banknotes fall
Does
short,
make
the
sense.
coins certainly deliver. The euro coins are arguably the coolest and most collectible in the world. Each country
Those are cool. I like the font.
has their own designs, and they can therefore be much more
Wow.
personal. The Colosseum features on the Italian
I always think it's interesting to see the foreign
their own
coins
designs, and they can therefore
that have the 2 different kinds of metals, because that's just completely... There's no American coin like that.
be much more personal. The Colosseum features on the Italian 5 cents, for example, and the Brandenburg Gate on the German 10. And even some countries that aren't EU members have their own coins, such as San Marino and Vatican City.
How's that?
In total, there are more than 300 different designs across the different values and countries, making them an absolute dream for collectors. They most certainly make up for the lack of variation on the banknotes. But if that's still not enough, there are some euro banknotes at
That's cool. $0 bill.
decidedly more interesting. This is a €0, a souvenir note printed on real banknote paper, with real security features and authorised by the European Central Bank. It has a watermark, glows under UV light, and feels and looks exactly as you'd expect a real euro to. And whilst this one features the atomium in Brussels, like the coins, there are literally hundreds of different designs. So whilst the euros themselves might be slightly dull, that's necessary. They're the second most traded currency in the world, and represent such a vast population.
So the US dollar is still number one. I mean, I know it's like the reserve currency of the world, but the most traded? I didn't know that. It's the first most traded.
Area. And
I guess it makes sense.
though they might have sacrificed some infinitely more interesting notes in the process, we got some pretty cool coins out of it, and the euro has undoubtedly made life a lot easier.
What a freaking cool channel. My God, half asleep Chris. No wonder he has 2.38 million subscribers. That was awesome. Very interesting. And in just 7 minutes, I feel like I know everything there is to know about the euro. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys are doing good. I hope to see you tomorrow. I'll be here, reacting to stuff from Europe. It's what we do on this here channel. Okay. Have a good day. Goodbye.